Welcome to a new deep dive.
Yeah.
We take your source material, articles, notes, whatever you've got, and we pull out the key insights, the surprising bits, everything you really need to know.
That's the plan, making complex stuff digestible.
Exactly. And today, we're looking at a big one for theater fans, the 78th Tony Awards. We've got a source that really breaks down the whole ceremony.
Yeah, a pretty comprehensive overview, winners, moments, whole deal.
So our mission, to unpack all that for you, we'll hit the highlights, the standout shows, the stories behind the awards, so you get the picture without getting lost in the details. Ready?
Absolutely. Let's dive in. We'll focus on what happened, sure, but also maybe why certain things resonated. The wins, the performances, the numbers.
Perfect. Okay, let's set the stage. The absolute basics. When and where did the 78th Tonys happen?
Right, so this was Saturday, June 8th, 2025. And it was live from Radio City Music Hall right here in New York, classic venue.
Radio City, yeah. And how could people watch if they weren't, lucky enough to be inside?
The main ceremony was broadcast on CBS, and you could also stream it live on Paramount Plus area.
Right.
Plus, they had a pre-show thing, the Tony Awards, Act 1, that streamed over on Pluto TV.
Ah, right. Who hosted that pre-show?
That was Darren Criss and Renee Elise Goldsberry, with Brian Stokes Mitchell doing the announcing, sort of warming everyone up.
Got it. And the main event, the big CBS broadcast, who was the host there?
The incredible Cynthia Erivo took the reins for the main ceremony.
Love it. Cynthia Erivo. Great choice. So, we know the logistics. Let's talk impact. Did people actually tune in? What were the ratings like?
Well, the source gives us some solid numbers. On CBS alone, it averaged about 4.85 million viewers. But when you add in the Paramount Plus streaming numbers, that bumps it up to 5.1 million total viewers.
5.1 million. How does that stack up against recent years?
That's the interesting part. It was actually the most viewed Tony Award ceremony since 2019, since the 73rd Awards.
Wow. Okay, so a definite uptick.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on why? Was it Erivo? Strong season overall, maybe.
It's probably a mix of things, right? Having a star like Erivo hosting definitely doesn't hurt visibility.
Sure.
And the source does mention that the season itself got good buzz. NPR called it spectacular. So, good shows probably mean more people care about the awards.
Makes sense. And what about Erivo specifically? How did critics feel about her hosting performance?
Generally, really positive. The AP called her amiable. But some reviews were even stronger. Deadline and Entertainment Weekly apparently called her absolutely flawless.
Flawless, wow.
Yeah, praising her for, playing to her strengths and maybe defying expectations a bit.
Yeah.
Vulture had an interesting take on her opening.
Oh, yeah. What did they say? I think our source mentioned that.
They basically said she kept the jokes minimal, maybe not her strongest suit, they implied, but maxed out the vocals.
Ah.
Which, let's be honest, nobody does better, so lean into the powerhouse singing.
Smart strategy. Let the talent speak for itself.
Exactly. And the New York Times also flagged her hosting as a highlight, along with that Hamilton performance in specific numbers by Nicole Scherzinger and Jonathan Groff.
Okay, so it sounds like she really nailed it by focusing on what she does best. Let's talk more about those moments inside the ceremony. What stood out besides the host?
Well, that opening you mentioned, it wasn't just the song. It started with this pre-taped sketch.
Right.
Erivo walking to Radio City, getting advice, kind of fun. And there was that cameo from Oprah Winfrey giving some tips.
Okay.
And then it built into her performing that original song, Sometimes All You Need Is a Song, referencing the nominees, joined by the Broadway Inspirational Voices Choir. Big, energetic start.
Nice way to weave in the show's being honored. What about the in memoriam segment? Always a poignant part of the show.
Yeah, Erivo came back out for that. She performed a duet of Tomorrow with Sarah Bareilles. Very moving.
And there was a huge buzz around one particular performance, right? A big anniversary?
Oh, absolutely. The Hamilton 10th anniversary reunion, the original cast got back together.
Huge deal.
Yeah, they performed a medley, 8 songs from the show. Huge crowd pleaser. One detail the source noted was they wore all black, not the original costumes. Kind of a different look, maybe marking the passage of time.
Interesting touch. Must have been electric in the room. How did they wrap the whole evening up?
With another performance, naturally, an adapted version of And I Am Telling You I'm Not Going.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but they rewrote the lyrics to be about the night itself, the events, the winners. A clever closer.
That sounds like it. And of course, throughout the night, you have presenters and performances from the nominated shows.
Right, the core of it. The source lists a bunch of big-name presenters. Keanu Reeves was there, Alex Winter, Michelle Williams, Oprah again, Bryan Cranston, Gene Smart. Lots of star power.
Definitely.
And yeah, performances from 11 of the nominated musicals, plus the Hamilton special and the In Memoriam duet, a very packed show musically.
Were there any specific performances from the nominees that the critics really highlighted?
Yes, the source pulled out a few. Megan Hilty singing for the gays from Death Becomes Her.
Yeah.
Jonathan Groff doing a medley from Just in Time, Nicole Scherzinger singing As If We Never Said Goodbye from Sunset Boulevard, always a showstopper, that song, and Audra McDonald performing Rose's Turn from Gypsy. So, yeah, some real powerhouse moments singled out.
Wow. Yeah, sounds like a night full of highlights. Okay, before we get into who actually won, just a quick clarification. How does a show even get considered for a Tony? What makes it eligible?
It basically comes down to two things, timing and location. For this particular year, the 78th Tonys, a show had to open between April 29th, 2024 and April 27th, 2025.
Okay, a specific window.
Exactly. And it had to run in one of the 41 official Broadway-eligible theaters during that time. So, location matters. Off-Broadway doesn't count for these awards.
Right. It has to be on Broadway within that time frame. That defines the pool for the season. And when did we find out who made the cut? When were the nominations announced?
Nominations came out on May 1st, 2025. Wendell Pierce and Sarah Paulson did the honors. And looking at those nominations, were there clear frontrunners? Any shows that racked up a ton of nods?
It was actually quite interesting this year. There was a three-way tie for the most nominations.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Buena Vista Social Club, Death Becomes Her, and Maybe Happy Ending all went into the night with 10 nominations each.
10 each. Okay, so those were definitely the ones to watch. All right, let's talk winners. The main event, starting with the plays, Best Play.
Best Play went to Purpose. It's written by Brandon Jacobs Jenkins.
Brandon Jacobs Jenkins. Didn't he win recently?
He did. That's the notable thing. He won Best Revival of a Play just the year before for Appropriate. So back-to-back Tonys in major play categories. Pretty impressive.
Very impressive.
Yeah.
Okay, how about the big one, Best Musical?
That top prize went to Maybe Happy Ending.
Ah, one of the shows with 10 nominations.
Exactly. And it didn't just win Best Musical. It actually dominated the night, taking home the most awards overall, 6 wins total.
6 wins. Wow, okay, so very good night for Maybe Happy Ending. What about the revivals?
For Best Revival of a Play, the winner was Eureka Day.
Okay.
And Best Revival of a Musical went to Andrew Lloyd Webber's Sunset Boulevard.
Sunset Boulevard, right.
Yeah.
Now, beyond the shows themselves, there were some really significant wins in the acting categories this year, weren't there? Some history made.
Absolutely. Huge moments. In the musical categories, for Best Actor in a Leading Role, Darren Criss won for Maybe Happy Ending.
Okay.
And the source highlights this. He's the first Asian American man to win in that specific category.
Wow. That's major.
It really is. And then Best Actress in a Leading Role in a Musical went to Nicole Scherzinger for Sunset Boulevard. She becomes the second Asian American woman to win that award. So big milestones for representation there.
Incredible. And the play categories also saw some groundbreaking wins.
Yes, definitely. Cole Scola won Best Actor in a Leading Role in a play for Oh, Mary. And this is a huge deal. They are the first non-binary actor to win a Tony in this category.
Another historic first. Amazing.
Truly. And Best Actress in a Leading Role in a play was Sarah Snook for The Picture of Dorian Gray.
All right, she was getting a lot of buzz for that performance.
Understandably. It was her Broadway debut, and she played something like 26 different roles in the show, including Dorian Gray himself.
26 roles.
Yeah.
In your debut.
Yeah.
And you win a Tony. That's remarkable.
Just incredible. Then in the featured categories for musicals, Jack Malone won Best Featured Actor for Operation Mincemeat, also their Broadway debut.
Lots of successful debuts this season.
It seems like it. And for plays, Cara Young won Best Featured Actress for Purpose. And this is another historic one. She's the first Black actor ever to win a Tony in 2 consecutive years.
Wow, consecutive wins. That's huge.
It really is. And Francis Ju won Best Featured Actor in a play for Yellowface. He's the second Asian American man to win in this category after B.D. Wong way back in 1988.
Another significant win.
And the source mentioned something really moving from his acceptance speech about receiving a tuxedo from another Asian actor 20 years ago who told him to be ready for his Tony night.
Oh, wow. Full circle. Those are the moments that stick with you, aren't they? More than just the award itself.
Exactly. It speaks volumes.
Okay, so lots of focus on performers, deservedly so. But Tonys also honor all the craft behind the scenes. The design, the direction, the writing, choreography.
Absolutely. It takes a village, as they say. And the awards reflect that. The source pointed out Paul Tazewell winning Best Costume Design in a Musical for Death Becomes Her, for example.
Right, recognizing that visual aspect.
Yeah.
And some shows picked up awards specifically for those technical or creative elements, right?
Yeah.
Even if they didn't win Best Musical or Play.
Yeah, definitely. Maybe Happy Ending, besides Best Musical, also won for Best Book and Best Score. Shows its strength wasn't just performance, but writing and music, too.
Okay.
Buena Vista Social Club won for Best Choreography and Best Orchestrations, key elements for that show's vibe.
Makes total sense for Buena Vista.
And Stranger Things. The First Shadow really swept the Technical Design Awards for play's scenic design, lighting design, and sound design.
Which feels very appropriate for Stranger Things, doesn't it, given the source material?
Absolutely. I mean, that show relies so heavily on atmosphere, effects, stagecraft to create its world. Winning those specific design awards really underscores how critical and how well executed those elements were. It wasn't just a play, it was a technical spectacle, too.
Yeah, it really highlights how important every single piece is. The Tonys also give out some non-competitive awards, right? Special honors.
They do, recognizing lifetime contributions or unique achievements. This year, the Lifetime Achievement in the Theater Award went to Harvey Fierstein.
A legend. Well-deserved.
Totally. And there were other special Tony Awards, too. One went to the musicians in the band for Buena Vista Social Club.
Oh, interesting. Not just the orchestrations, but the actual band members.
Exactly. Acknowledging how crucial their live playing is to the show's energy and authenticity, it's a really specific, cool recognition.
Yeah, I like that.
Another special Tony went to the Illusions and Technical Effects team for Stranger Things, The First Shadow. Again, highlighting that groundbreaking technical work we just talked about.
Right, reinforcing just how impressive that aspect was. Any others?
Yeah, the Regional Theater Tony Award, which recognizes excellence outside NYC, went to the Muni in St. Louis.
Okay.
And the Excellence in Theater Education Award was given to Gary Edwin Robinson. So acknowledging contributions across the board.
Great. So we've covered the winners, the honors, the history being made, but awards nights always have surprises, right? Outcomes maybe people didn't predict. Were there any notable snubs or upsets this year?
Yeah, the source definitely points out a couple of results that raised some eyebrows among critics. One was the revival of Gypsy.
Starring Audra McDonald.
Exactly. Audra McDonald tied for the most performance Tonys ever. The show had multiple nominations. But it didn't win any awards. 0 wins for that production. That definitely surprised some people.
Yeah, you'd think with Audra McDonald leading a major revival.
Okay.
Any others?
The other one mentioned was Death Becomes Her. Remember, it tied for the most nominations with 10.
Right, 10 nods. How did it do?
It only won a single award, that Best Costume Design Award we mentioned earlier, for Paul Tazewell.
Just 1 win out of 10 nominations.
Yeah. So, while the look of the show was clearly recognized, it seems in the other categories, voters leaned towards other productions.
Maybe the competition was just incredibly fierce in those specific categories this year.
That's often the case, isn't it? You can have a show that's widely admired and nominated across the board, but when it comes down to the individual races, Best Book, Best Score, Best Direction, another show just edges it out in the voting. It really shows how tough it is to win multiple Tonys.
No kidding. Okay, so let's wrap this up. We've gone through the whole night, the ratings bump, Erivo's hosting, the big Hamilton moment, the dominance of maybe Happy Ending and Purpose, those really important historic wins for representation, and then these surprising snubs. Why does looking closely at this one awards night matter for someone trying to get a handle on Broadway right now?
Well, this deep dive gives you like a concentrated snapshot of what the industry itself deemed the most significant achievements of the past season. You get introduced to the shows, the talent, the creators that made the biggest impact. And crucially, as we saw, this year really highlighted those strides in representation. Seeing who won tells a story about where Broadway might be heading, or at least what it's choosing to celebrate right now. It's more than just a list. It's a reflection of the season's artistic and maybe even cultural trends.
That makes sense. It distills a whole year down into its most celebrated moments and the narratives that came out of the awards.
Precisely. You get the key takeaways and the story of the season in one go.
So thinking about all these results, especially those really groundbreaking wins for performers from underrepresented groups, alongside the unexpected fates of some heavily nominated shows, what does this particular Tony Awards night suggest about where Broadway is now and maybe where it's headed? What themes or trends that we saw celebrated might we see more of on stage in the coming years?